Hey everybody, this is Stormie coming to you from the Yokel Local Studios here in Las Vegas with Darrell Evans, the co-founder of Yokel Local, and a very, very special guest today. Today we have Dr. Jeffrey Magee.
Greetings.
Greetings. And for me, this is actually pretty exciting. So for those of you that are listening, back in the day when I was the Director of Sales and Marketing at Concordia Homes, we used to do a lot of sales training. So you old Concordia people, listen in, because this is one of the DVDs of one of the people we used to listen to. So if you look at this picture, back then, he had a little less gray hair, looked a little bit different, but this is one of the guys that I came up in the sales industry listening to, picking up advice on performance-driven selling techniques, and just the mere fact that he's inside our studios today is giving me goosebumps. So this is pretty exciting. Dr. Jeffrey Magee, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Welcome.
Thank you, guys. This is fun.
So, Darrell, why don't you dive in? And
Jeff, it's good to have you, man. We just first of all, why don't you introduce yourself to our guests watching? You and I had a chance to meet maybe a year and a half ago. You came out to our mastermind program, gave a 3-hour workshop, and it was just a game changer. Blown away. You had a fantastic book that we won't talk about too much today, but Trajectory Code. You're author, speaker. So. You've got a lot of credentials, but why don't you just take a few minutes, tell us where you came from, what got you here to this day, and what are you known for in the marketplace?
Appreciate it very much. Sales and marketing is how I grew up. As a lot of business people, some were on the revenue side of generating the income for the company. And that took me through management and leadership trajectories with Fortune 100 companies and small startup firms to my own large training company. And a lot of us, we kind of evolved to where we are. Sometimes there's a game plan, but different opportunities present themselves, and away you go. So I've spent my last 30 years basically helping people to run more effective, engaged companies. Talent development is kind of the space I play in, but probably most specifically it's on the leadership side and sales side. That's the two hats I've worn as a practitioner for decades, and that's what I've studied in terms of academically and written books and all kinds of programs like you just referenced, Stormie, in terms of the sales training. So that's, Darrell, kind of where I've grown up, and so talent development is it. I work with business owners like yourselves and doing that C2C work, and it's really interesting when you look at what can be done when people are able to unleash the creative juices in their head, surround themselves with a great team, and have the skill set to know how to execute. It's amazing being on the front line of capitalism.
That's awesome. We talked offline a little bit, and I know we've got a couple of questions for you. We're going to dive into 3 topics or 3 new strategies that you're going to share with our listeners today, our viewers today, about taking sales to an extraordinary level, right? And you've got some concepts and ideas. So, Stormie, you want to jump into the first one and get Jeff started, kick us off?
Yeah, absolutely. As Darrell mentioned, you've got 3 new techniques and strategies that you're going to share with the audience today. And I'm pretty excited to hear about these because, as I've already mentioned, I've been listening to you for a while. So I'm pretty excited about hearing 3 brand new techniques and strategies that you're about to share with us. So why don't you dive into what's one of those techniques and strategies that you're going to share with us?
Easy. So, over the decades looking at sales and having the opportunity to interview superstars in selling across lots of industries that always exceed mission, and surrounding myself with phenomenal personalities from the Brian Tracy's and the Zig Ziglars and people of that industry, one of the things I've recognized is that super successful individuals, whether it's athletics, whether it's entertainment, or here in this conversation of sales, do very specific things. And if you don't do these things, you're incredibly busy, but it's almost like you get derailed in the wrong trajectory. So one of them is, what do you do every Monday morning to tee up that week as a sales professional, as a business owner, to ensure that with all of the myriad of things that you're probably taking care of from last week or happened over the weekend, what are you always doing to stay strategically focused and moving forward in selling? So Monday morning, one of the things I've recognized across every industry, Monday mornings are probably the worst time of the day and week to try to make an outbound sales call or make a cold call or go meet someone new, because no one wants to talk to you.
Right.
So I don't want to talk to nobody on Monday.
Exactly. So
phone calls I get on Monday.
Stormie won't even take a meeting on
I won't take a meeting. Anything on Monday. There you go.
So I rest my case, everybody. So in working with the National Guard in terms of recruiting, working with construction companies in terms of selling, engineers, realtors, pharmaceuticals, any business I've been a part of, one of the things I've recognized, just as you two gentlemen stated, Monday mornings, though, is the perfect time to do a little strategy. Who are the top people I need to reconnect with this week? Or who are the top people I need to reach out to I've never talked to this week? So there's a concept I call Rule 152X. And so every Monday morning, if you were to stop and think about who are a group of people that I know, existing customers, past customers, customers that haven't bought from me in a while, centers of influence, advocates, or who's a group of people I've never talked to I need to, because you always have to be putting new people into your sales pipeline. You identify that demographic and you create a marketing email letter or a direct mail letter or a social media post, LinkedIn, whatever, to reach out to people. So Rule 152X says this. 1 is every Monday morning. 52, there's 52 weeks in the year, so you're going to do this every Monday morning for a year before you pass judgment that this technique works or doesn't work.
Okay.
Because I've never been proven wrong. And so X simply represents a demographic you want to go after. So let me put you two gentlemen on the spot. So if you were to think of right now in your head, so there's your super cray computers, your brain. If you were to think of in your head, how many customers have you had, let's say in the last decade, that's been a part of your business?
Okay.
What might be a number of that? So I'm going to count to 3. So you listeners, think about all the customers you've had in the last decade. And if you're new, all the customers maybe your organization's had in the last decade. When I count to 3, you just out loud say your number. 1, 2, 3.
It's close to 300.
300. So if we're going to have 300 with these guys, what was your number in there? So if your number was 13, if your number is 0, if it's 0, then you can't do this technique. You're going to come up with another technique. But let's say you had whatever number. So I'm going to go 300. So this Monday, coming up Monday, you would deploy Rule 152, 300. You're going to pull up those 300 customers. You're going to think of what's a call to action, action-oriented value message I could send them as an email to just reconnect with them. Maybe it's a new deliverable you have that maybe a lot of these people don't know you have. Or maybe you just received an award or an accolade or an accomplishment to just kind of FYI touching base with you. Or maybe it's seasonal. This is the time of year you should be thinking about buying X, Y, and Z in the coming months or coming year. So you could reach out and send them a marketing piece. So let me ask you another question. Same thing for our viewers. Think about your current active customers. Right now they're active with you. So if I were to say, how many active customers do you have? Just think of that number out loud in your head, but don't say anything out loud with your mouth. So 1, 2, 3. So let's say my number is 18. I've got 18 active customers. Then the following week, because this coming week is going to be 152, 300, then the next week it might be 152, 30. Now let's back up to 300. What you're doing is you're going to send them an email or a letter on Monday to reconnect with them. And there's always a call to action. I'd like to talk to you about what I've just presented in this email. Here's my phone number if you want to give me a call before I give you a call, but I'm going to reach out to you this week. Now what you've done is you've removed cold calling. You'll never make a cold call again. It's always a warm call. It's already teed up. Now the reality, you can make 300 phone calls this week is probably between 0 and not happening.
Right.
So let's make it realistic. So now you're 300. Maybe you guys could commit to making 50 phone calls this week in the next 4.5 days.
Okay.
I think that's very realistic for anyone to make 50 phone calls in a week, because some businesses you have to make 50 phone calls in a day. So you're going to take your 300 and you could break that down over the next 4 weeks. Or you're going to do 4 weeks a month. Maybe 1 week every month is to your existing customers that you've had over the last 10 years, your 300. So it gives you 3 other weeks this month. So maybe week 2 is to all of your centers of influence, all the people that are lead referrals to you. You send them a letter saying, hey, I just wanted to touch base with you. Thank you very much. Attached is an article I've recently written on whatever, and I want to thank you for giving me, the last lead of Susie Q, or etc. Then the 3rd week might be new people. So what's your great avatar? What's your great profile customer look like? Maybe you do a lead research on the internet or Chamber of Commerce or a business list, and you have some names. So then that 3rd week might be you're going to send an email out to maybe 15 or 20 of those people. So the point about Mondays, if Monday morning you always tee up a group of people to reconnect to or to reach out to connect to, and send them an email or a direct mail letter, they're going to have that afternoon or the next day. If I'm going to send a letter out, then maybe I drop it in a mail on Friday. That way it's in everyone's hands Monday, Tuesday. So if I start making phone calls on Tuesday, I'm calling because of the letter.
Yeah.
So now if I've sent it to you, I'm calling you, and if I get Darrell on the phone, I go, Darrell, hey, this is Dr. Jeff Magee. I sent you an email this morning on lead generation ideas. Did you get that email? I don't care what Darrell says. I'm already in the conversation now. It's no longer a cold call.
Yep.
If he says yes, I go, fantastic. What do you think? If he goes, I got it, haven't read it, I still say, fantastic. Here's what I sent you. So it takes some onus on you, the sales professional, business owner, to think about what's the value-added message I can send. But 152X is huge every Monday.
Awesome. So it really takes a cold call and makes it a warm call, which really,
absolutely,
if you think about the traditional history of salespeople hate making phone calls to people that they don't know. Because, again, we all are human. We don't like getting cold calls from people that we don't know that want to pitch us something. So you basically dump the old adage on its head. You're taking a warm prospect, or you're warming up a prospect with the reconnect process, right? You're sending them an email, notifying them of something, and then you're pre-setting the stage that you're going to give them a call and touch base. So it actually reduces resistance from both the person receiving the call as well as the salesperson. I love it.
Absolutely. I think that's what was brilliant about this concept. Over the years, working with salespeople, the sales call reluctance. The salespeople that's the part of the job that they hated in most cases. But, the idea of never having to make another cold call again, that's pretty awesome.
That's a good
because
one.
they're all going to be a warm call. So
Yeah.
that's great. So that was the first tip, which was pretty awesome. Let's jump into the second tip.
Yeah.
So I could take number one and run with it and be
Yeah.
extremely excited as a business owner or salesperson. But we've got two more.
Yeah.
What's the second tip?
Yeah,
So let's jump to Friday then. So if every Monday you're teeing up what you do, because the traditional sales world is a 5-day cycle. It's Monday through Friday.
Okay.
So if your business is 24 hours a day and or you work the weekend 7 days a week, you can just take these ideas and tweak them. If you live on the internet, this Rule 152X is exactly on the internet because it's all about your drip campaigns. Your first reach out is to touch them to get them to know you. You're pulling them into your funnel. It's all the same methodology. I mean, my graduate degree is in marketing and nothing's changed in 30 years, kids.
Right.
You can change it up and give it a different name, but it's the same basic tenet.
Right.
So Friday, the concept is called 5 at 5. And the point of 5 at 5 is that every Friday by 5 o'clock or whatever time you're going to wrap up the day, that you want to create a physical list. So whether it's in your internet system, it's on your dashboard, it's in your phone, it's on a piece of paper, it's on your whiteboard. But every Friday by 5 o'clock, you want to write down who are the top 5 prospects I'm working or top 5 clients I'm working for the next sell, so you can see them and you can ask of yourself and you can connect with your colleagues if you need to and strategize what's the next action step with these 5 people to cultivate and matriculate them into becoming a customer. And I take the 5 at 5 concept though and I make it even more strategic. So not only who are the top 5 people I'm working, but think about this. If you have different deliverables, different products, if you're in different industries, you can have a top 5 at 5 by each of those. So I do a lot of work with the National Guard. I can have who are the top 5 National Guard accounts I'm working. I can have real estate. Who are the top real estate brokers or firms I'm working? I can have construction. What are the top 5 construction? Or I can have pharmaceutical. Or I can have, whatever the businesses that I'm in, or key deliverables. I mean, my core 2 deliverables in my company, beyond keynotes at conventions, is a leadership program called the Leadership Academy of Excellence. It's a 1-year relationship. So I have my LAE, Leadership Academy of Excellence, who are the top 5 people I'm working to make sales on that, because that's a year-long client, and performance-driven selling. In that suite, I have a ton of products, but who are my top prospects I'm working in performance-driven selling? So you can take the 5 at 5 a lot of ways, as a sales manager, as a business owner, as an individual, to hold yourself accountable. If on Monday you said, I'm going to do this, on Friday, are you really moving that needle forward?
Right.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Just taking action. And it's not only just taking action, because oftentimes over the years I've heard, hey, Stormie, just take action. I read books. Take action, take action, take action. But that's all they say is take action. There really isn't a plan telling me how to take action. And it sounds like that's something that you're addressing, because that's one of the things that, it's no difference than the kids. Hey, I need you to do something that they've never done before, and I'm wondering why they haven't done it. Well,
that's exactly it. As a performance psychologist, I think that's one of the reasons I have been able to differentiate myself in the marketplace, and my clients have been able to have such phenomenal successes, because I mentally get in with them. What is your market? Where are you going, both immediately, intermediately, and long term? And we identify those action plans, and so we put behaviors to them. So this is exactly what you need to do to move the needle. Most people that talk about coaching, you're exactly right. Most people that talk about talent development and training programs in terms of leadership or sales, they give you all kinds of these macro targets to hit, but they don't give you the steps to get there, and that's exactly what we do. And it's not just we're making this stuff up. This is a science. There's an art and science to success. And if we're talking about sales in this discipline of this conversation here, what is it that works? I don't study mediocre salespeople. I don't study mediocre companies. I study the rock stars. But here's what's most fascinating, guys. Every industry I've been in, it blows my mind. Every industry I've been in, with the exception of one, pharmaceuticals is the only one that does this. No industry studies their best salespeople and then create SOPs off of that for everyone else to follow. No one does it. National Guard's been a client of mine for 18 years. Last year, only 7 states made their sales mission. Of those 7, 6 were my clients. And the National Guard at the national level has no clue what those states have done. None. And I can prove it because the top salesman last year, I did an interview with, and I asked him, did anyone from Nationals ever ask you specifically what you did? No. It blows my mind.
Wow, that's
blows
incredible.
My mind.
So, Jeff, part of what, you've got a big book of clients, some big name companies, but let's talk and bring this maybe a little bit more practical to the types of companies that can really benefit from your modeling and these types of systems, right? So you've got Fortune 100 companies all the way down to, small mom and pops. Give us a quick breakdown of the types of people that resonate with or really who need a sales game plan, not just great strategy, but a sales game plan, as you were referencing a moment ago. And then we'll go into your third strategy.
Great question, Darrell, and I love that. Thank you very much. So you're right. We do a lot of work with larger companies, 100-ish employees and more, and they pay to bring us in, and they invest a lot of money in our programs, both the training programs and all the virtual touch points before and after I leave, which is also very unique to how you grow someone. Just like you said, Stormie, about parenting. It's not just the initial interaction with a child. It's the reinforcement and sustainment and consistency is how you design and program into someone great behaviors for success. Same thing, Darrell, to your question in terms of working with large companies. But the best people for me to engage that are going to get this and move the ball down the field, to use the metaphor, are solo practitioners that are busy doing their business, but they probably have never really been exposed to formal, structured sales training to know how to be more successful. That's a great prospect. And small business people that don't have the luxury of the ability to invest. They want to, but they don't have the luxury to be able to invest the kind of money to bring in, truly successful training platforms to their company. So those are the individuals where I really can help a lot of success, because we have a lot of online programs, and we have also open enrollment conferences that they can send 1 and 2 and 3 people to. And that's where you have great success, because everyone in business should have access to the same cutting-edge best practices to be successful. It shouldn't just be the person who has extra revenue that has those luxuries, or the large corporations. Right. How does the small, just as you said, Darrell, startup business, solo practitioner, person that maybe has 1 to a dozen employees, how do they gain from these ideas as well? So I touch all of that spectrum.
Yeah. So, it's really great stuff. I mean, I think, the last concept I think is going to blow everybody away, because, we think about, you're going to talk a little bit about the problem with the traditional sales funnel. And so why don't you, we were talking to us a little bit offline, why don't you talk about this last strategy and really go down the problems with the traditional sales funnel? And
before you get into the sales funnel, this is one of the things that I'm hoping you dive into. You know what? I've heard about the sales funnel. I remember my early days in sales. Hey, just, add more people to your pipeline. It goes back to what we talked about earlier. People always throw these superficial statements in terms of what you should do, but they don't tell you how to do it. So with that being said, let's dive into what you have to say about the sales funnel.
So if you are successful, I'll let you define that any way you want, in selling, you'll recognize that if you were to start to draw out the architecture of the sales process, that there are some very specific levels or steps or phases. And at any one of those steps, you can stop, and because of the uniqueness of your business, there's lots of sub-steps. Okay. But if you were to back up and say, what's the macro? You're exactly right, Stormie. Typically when people talk about the sales funnel, they talk about leads going into the top of the funnel, and there's a whole conversation about how they come in, whether you get them, someone gets them, etc. But then it's all about marketing at the top of the funnel to work them into the middle, which is all about selling to have a customer come out the bottom.
Right.
That's the macro flow. And so that's correct. The problem is that's a macro flow. And if basically that's what people tell you, it's either because that's what they were taught, that's fine, or it's an idiot that's teaching you training. And a lot of times that's the problem, is that people that teach a lot, and we've all heard these jokes back when we were little kids, those that do and those that can't teach.
Right.
And that's what really I love, because I come in and I get to deal with all of the disruption and noise and stupidity that's out there, because I am a practitioner. Just like you two gentlemen, we do this every day. That's what makes our businesses a lot differently than a lot of people that want to sell these sorts of things. So the sales funnel actually has 6 layers minimum, 6 levels minimum. So the first at the top of the funnel, if you were to create a layer, it's all about your ecosystem. An ecosystem means everything you do has to be somehow connected. If you go to McDonald's, you're pretty much in your head calibrated to know what sort of products you're going to get. If you go to Taco Bell, your brain is calibrated as to what products to get. If you go to Disneyland, your brain is calibrated. You're not going to see Bugs Bunny. You know what sort of products you're going to see. Everything is ecosystem. So what gets a lot of business people in trouble is that they have so many disconnected things that they're selling. Another word for ecosystem is branding. That if I know that what you two gentlemen do is X, but you also sell Y and Z, but I'm never told about it, your ecosystem is fragmented. And all the money you spend to market X is doing nothing for Y and Z. So again, you've got to be focused. So we spend a lot of time on ecosystem. That goes to level 2, which is then going to be marketing. If you have clarity of what your website's about, your products are about, your deliverables about, your intellectual properties about, then now you know how to market it. You can tap into all the people internally and externally to your universe to help you to market it. You'll know what to do and what not to do. You can make every dollar get you more mileage. Then from marketing goes to suspect. Here's another place that everyone screws up the funnel. Anyone that could potentially buy your deliverable, that's a suspect. If I'm selling a house, anyone that can qualify for a loan is a suspect. Now, I may not want to go after them, but that's a different conversation.
Right.
Anyone that has a house that might be looking to upgrade or downgrade, that's a suspect. Anyone that just got married, that's a suspect. Anyone that's just moved to town, that's a suspect. So if I want to sell more, sell well, sell better, I've got to understand the suspect pool. If I'm in the National Guard recruiting in a state, I got to know how many people are alive between the ages of 17 and 35 because that's my demographic. Well, if I've only got to make 24 sales this year and I can find out that there are 800,000 people in my recruiting area, then it is mathematically impossible for you to not make your sales goal. You're not making your sales goals because you don't see how big the market is. We talk about abundance mentality is level 3. So from suspect, then you go to 4, which is prospect, which is typically where everyone jumps in talking about a prospect. But you'll find more prospects if you understand where your suspects are. So prospect is more qualified. Then from prospect, then you go to the next level, which is all of your selling, which is the most time-consuming portion of the funnel because selling is your presentations, it's interviews, it's applications, it's contracts, it's back and forth with the prospect or the customer. So that eats up a lot of time, and what comes out the bottom in the 6th level is all of your admin time with the customer. So when you look at the architecture of those 6, a customer comes out the bottom. Now here's the beauty of what I've just very quickly explained. What I've just told to you has nothing to do with selling. That's the process. Where real sales starts is at the bottom. Once you start to get some customers, then you can see how much time it takes to go from contact to contract. You can see how many people you need to talk to at the top to get someone to come out the bottom. Then once you get some customers at the bottom, then you can start analyzing, doing your analytics just on your customers to see which customers, while it's great to have them, really are not my best customers. Because what you really want to come up with is an avatar, that's a buzzword today, profile definition of a great customer by either your funnel period, by your company period, or by deliverable period. And once you have those definitions of a great customer at the bottom, because it came out the funnel, you circle that data and that goes back to the top of the funnel because now you can do a better job and more clarity of qualifying the better types of leads and lead sourcing to get in the funnel so you make it tighter and tighter and tighter every time. Super successful salespeople have a quota. Let's say they have a sales goal for the month. If they understand what we've just shared with them, these 3 models, most of my research shows most salespeople that have a 30-day sales goal typically have made their mission for the month by usually the 10th to the 15th of the month.
Wow.
They typically have made their annual goal by month 5, 6, 7 of the year.
Right.
Never been proven wrong. But if you don't understand these models, which is what we teach and show you, and you don't have a game plan, then you may be successful. You're working really hard to get there and usually get there right at the last second.
Yeah, that's boy, Jeff. We could clearly see how that this rolls out to a 3-day event.
Absolutely.
But, just to kind of bring us to a close today, Jeff, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, guys.
You shared a ton
great.
of content, a ton of great strategies. Again, for those of you watching the replay, you can play this over and over again. Take notes. Jeff talks super fast. If you haven't been able to tell, if you got one of those special devices, you can slow him down by putting him on half speed if you want to. I dare you to try it at 1.5.
Right.
Which is the way we do things. But,
absolutely.
But anyway, Jeff, why don't you tell our audience where they can find you, and also you've got a special event coming up here at the end of June here in Las Vegas. Tell us a little bit about that, and we'll wrap it up for today.
Thank you guys both very much, and thank you for spending a couple minutes and listening to the 3 of us. So you can find out more about me online. It's jeffreymagee.com. Again, jeffreymagee.com. It's Jeffrey, and Magee spelled Magee. So jeffreymagee.com. Under the events tab, to Darrell's question, are the open enrollment public programs I do, and also on my websites, all of the on-site in-house training programs and keynotes we do. June 21, 22, here in Las Vegas, Red Rock Casino. We are going to be doing a performance-driven selling 2-day open enrollment boot camp. It's the same program that we have been doing for 30 years. It's always being updated. It's in real time. To our corporate clients, people have invested millions of dollars over the years for this. In the last year, I went to lots of public sales training programs around the country with a couple of my friends. And we really walked away with a very embarrassing revelation, and that is there really isn't anything out there. There's a lot of programs you go to that turn out to be upsells, a lot of programs you go to that tend to be infomercials, a lot of programs you go to that give you a little bit of meat, as you made comment, Stormie, at the very beginning of this recording, where they talk about things to do, but no one really gives you the steps to do it. And I just realized that I owe it to the marketplace to at least bring some legitimate sales training out there. And so we're doing that program here in June 21, 22. It's very reasonably priced. So if you want to increase your sales effectiveness as a business owner, as a business leader, as a sales professional, you need to be here and contact us, and we'll give you group deals as well.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning at the end, and Stormie, you can close this out. Jeff has had clients with him now for, if I remember correctly, Jeff, in the neighborhood of 20 years that have never left you with no contract, no retainer. They started with an initial contract, but because of the impact, they keep finding ways to bring you back into the organization now for something like 20 years. I think you've had clients for.
Absolutely.
So that just speaks to the type of impact you've been able to make inside of organizations. So Stormie, I'll let you wrap it up. Thanks again for being with us, Jeff.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely, thank you. And for those of you that know me, that know me in my sales career, and there's many of you out there that do, a lot of that came from the influence that I received from this DVD, the training that I received from Dr. Magee early on in my career. So with an event coming up here in Las Vegas in April, I think if you're in sales, even if you're not in sales, if you're required to get customers, so oftentimes business owners that I meet with don't realize that they're in sales. Yeah. So if you're a business owner, this is the type of event that you really need to be at and get your employees to. So with that being said, definitely check it out. Check him out. He gets my personal endorsement because this is someone that I followed for years, and I personally practice the methodology that he's taught. So with that being said, we'll jump out, and thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.
See you guys soon. Take care.